just got done watching a video called 25 Countries with the Highest Rate of Atheism. The channel is World According to Briggs, and I believe he's the narrator of this channel. And I'm digging into this video because it's had over 3 million views, and that means 3 million people have looked at this and at least walked away with some kind of thoughts like, oh, well, atheism is probably more prominent than I thought. And if young atheists file this away in their worldview, they're going to make decisions based off of some really faulty statistics. And so Briggs never said who the paper was by. It's not referenced in the comments, and that's fine. I think there might be a tad of just sensationalism here, whoever did the survey, but we'll get to that in a minute. So starting at the bottom, he said number 25, Iceland is 54% atheist. Number 24, France, 55% atheist. Slovenia, 59% atheist. Number 22, Austria, 59% atheist. Number 21, Ireland, 61% atheist. And as I'm hearing these stats, I'm kind of reeling. I'm like, wow, that's crazy. And the one that caught my attention was 43% of Americans are atheist, and that was stated at the beginning of the video. And I'm like, what? Like, this is crazy. And I've got to hear more, which I think is why the video was made. So I jumped up all the way. I didn't listen all the way through, but then I jumped up to the top 5, and it got to United Kingdom, 72% atheist. And you can tell I've been around a little while, and I was like, this doesn't sound right. Like, I'm going to actually dig into this. And so I've investigated the top 5. And let me kind of compare and contrast with you. Whoever Briggs is comparing with says that United Kingdom is 72% atheist. But according to Wikipedia, they have much different information. It's the title of the page would be Irreligion in the UK. And all I did was kind of put atheism, population, and then the country names here. So Wikipedia says that in 2018, it was more like 8% were atheist and 52% were non-religious. That's a huge difference in a stating that 72% are atheist or 8%, and then 52% being non-religious. Non-religious just means I'm not affiliated with any religion. It doesn't tell you what they believe about God. Statisticians even confirmed this, that 45% of Brits were atheist or non-religious. And so you've got to understand these surveys, the way they're worded sometimes. People kind of have to decide, am I this or am I that? How do I define myself? But wherever this other figures came from, there's something very wrong there. Let's go. Number 4 was the Czech Republic. According to Briggs's statistics, 75% of the Czech Republic is atheist. I mean, they've got a stranglehold. They've got a grip on things. Well, according to the World Economic Forum, 25% are atheist, but 47% are non-religious. So let's say you were taking a survey and you're like, are you atheist or a God believer? Okay, I'm an atheist. What if there is atheist? Are you an atheist, non-religious, or a God believer? Oh, I'm atheist, non-religious. Or are you atheist, non-religious, God believer, or Catholic? It depends on how detailed the surveys are, the information you're going to get. But 75% atheism is not the case. And then if you drop down, or I'm dropping down on my list, number 3, Sweden, and I've heard this one mentioned before, but here it is, 78% atheist. And this stuff comes up. If you're trying to defend Christianity at all, people will quote bad videos like this. And actually, according to the NSESC, and they didn't have their initials defined, and I didn't really dig in really deep to who that was, but they said 46% to 85% are atheists. So here he's got some confirming data. Like Sweden, he said it was 78% atheist, but then the NSEC says, well, it's somewhere between 46 and 85% atheist. So it looks like he's got a little bit of confirmation. But then on that page, they said, well, one source says it's 17% atheist. But what's really interesting, the World Economic Forum, and let's just stop there. You might not be familiar with the World Economic Forum, but this is one of the farthest left groups possible. They are extreme left, and so that means they would be really in line with atheism. So they're so on side of the fence with atheist, if you're an atheist, that you couldn't ask for better, okay? These guys are playing your game. They're making rules for you. They're trying to help influence laws by what you think. So the World Economic Forum is on the side of atheism, but they state that it's only 18% atheist and 55% non-religious. There's a big difference between non-religious and atheist. Well, Japan, he states, the World According to Briggs states that Japan was 81% atheist. And so let's just say that you're trying to develop a worldview and you've been skimming through the YouTube and you see this, and you're like, oh yeah, I need to know this. And like, wow, most of the world is atheist. Yeah, like this is the thing. And I'm in good company. And you believe some of these things, you're going to be shocked later when you find out that, like, Wikipedia again states there that Japan is actually 70% Shinto and 67% Buddhist. Now, if you're quick, you see a problem there. I do too. I don't know how that's reconciled, but I saw it on multiple sites. So maybe they are Shinto, however you say it, and Buddhist, but the claim was they're 81% atheist, and so is atheist and Shinto and Buddhist all connected? I guess you could see that's monkeying with things there, because Buddhism is considered a religion, and yeah, there is no God in Buddhism, but that doesn't make them atheist like you want them to be atheist. So that's not a good comparison. Statistia said it's 48% Shinto and 46% Buddhist. Well, then you jump over to the number one the number one atheist country in the world, which you would expect to be communist, China, home of the CCP. Wow. The CCP has over 100 million members in the government and in the presiding influence. They have dogmatic control, and they do everything they can to suppress the people. The Communist China Party are atheist, and they are in control of the people, and they flip the switches and they make the decisions, and you don't get any kind of promotion. You don't get into the Chinese government if you're religious unless you're just super quiet about it. So we're talking about massive control here. And anyway, the quote from The World According to Briggs was 91% are atheist. Not so fast. Well, hold on a minute. And let me say this. Let's say your government is atheist. Your government is raining down atheism. It's mandatory. It's atheism. This stat is that 1 in 10 people are actually called in for tea by the Chinese government, to kind of check on them. So you've got 1 out of 10 people is in the government already, and then 1 out of every other 10 people is brought in to be checked on with, kind of probing frequency, and they're looking into your life. What are you up to? Do you believe in religion? Are you listening to our rules? With that, even with that, Wikipedia says that 73%, now this is according to CFPS, 73% of Chinese folk believe in Chinese folk religion, despite having communism raining down over their head. 15% are Buddhist. Well, the Council on Foreign Relations even disagrees with the World According to Briggs' 91%. They said that 32% are agnostic. Okay, yeah. You got the 10% that are in the government, and then another 20% maybe they believe the propaganda, or at least they don't know if they do or not because they're agnostic. They don't know if there's a God or not. I don't know what religion I am. I'm not religious, but I don't know what to believe because my government doesn't let me think. But then what was really interesting is 6.8% are atheist. There's 6.8% of Chinese that are sure they're atheist. Interestingly, there's 7.4% that are Christian. So here's my takeaway from even bringing up this video, that surveys are sampling. They are not science. And so there are, I am sure, young atheists out there that watch these kind of videos and take in the data they're given, and they just believe, and they start building a worldview off of false information, and somebody's got to warn them. So here I am trying to warn them. So you can make a survey say anything you want it to say, and in fact, different wording in a survey comes up with different results, and this is one of the problems they're having. They're like, well, we're having to get more technical with the definitions, but then if you get a more and more technical survey, less and less people will actually take it. So the question I have is, what are the motives for a video being propagated like this? And I think, first of all, it's just for income, okay? It's just sensationalism. The top 25 nations in the world that are atheist, but then there's spouting off one of the worst sources that anybody could even imagine. Like, none of it even rings true or even near true. But if somebody watched that for information, they'd be like, man, yeah. And so why would you ever state that atheism is a prominent thing? Now, maybe Briggs is an atheist. I don't know. But why would you want to state that atheism is so prominent worldwide? It's to help the other atheists to be very comfortable so they can speak up and speak louder. And it's to tear down the old religions and the old ways and to, to dominate. There's political motives here. There's social motives here. Like, let's cast off this restraint. But what I want you to draw attention to is that atheism typically overstates things. It very typically overstates things. This video is an example of it, but I see all the time people will state something like, there is no God, but then later you find out they're actually agnostic. Or they'll state, there is no God, but they're actually a deist, and they just don't want to be ruled by people who think that God is a little more active than he is, so they just go by atheism. So I just want you to be aware that if a person has zero accountability in their belief system, that they're only accountable to themselves, then they might lie or exaggerate to sway and influence you.